United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, with a quick call roll, please.
Counselor Boland.
Here.
Counselor Dykstra. Counselor Olfers. Here. Counselor Nassar.
Here.
Counselor Reeskamp.
Here.
Counselor Steinhebel.
Here.
Thank you. And first up, we have the consent calendar. We have the agenda for tonight's meeting. We have the board minutes from Planning Commission, February 16th, council minutes, March 9th, and March 23rd, and liquor license for Conversion Brewing, full on-site premises, or full on-premise commercial additional privilege.
Move for approval.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Consent calendar's been approved. Please bear with me. I have several proclamations to read tonight. We'll do our best. All right. So first up is we have May. Can you hear me in the back okay? First up is we have May 2022 Mental Health Awareness Month. Whereas mental health is an essential to everyone's overall health and well-being, and whereas all Americans experience times of difficulty and stress in their lives, and whereas promotion and prevention are effective ways to reduce the burden of mental health conditions, and whereas with effective treatment, those individuals with mental health conditions can recover and lead full productive lives, and whereas each of us has the responsibility to promote mental wellness and support prevention efforts. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Paul Aziz, do proclaim on May 22nd, 2022 as Mental Health Awareness Month. In Lebanon, do call upon the community to commit to increasing awareness and understanding of mental health, the steps we can take to protect our mental health, and the need for appropriate, accessible services for those in need. Okay. We got Older Americans Month. Whereas older Americans enrich and strengthen our community, and whereas Lebanon is committed, engaged, and supporting older adults, their families, and caregivers, and whereas the city acknowledges the importance of taking part in activities that promote physical, mental, and emotional well-being, no matter what your age, and whereas we can enrich the lives of individuals every age by promoting home and community-based services that support independent living, involving it's misspelled, I apologize, involving older adults in community planning, events, and other activities, and providing opportunities for older adults to work, volunteer, learn, lead, and mentor. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Paul R. Aziz, do hereby proclaim May 2022 as Older Americans Month. I urge our citizens to take time to acknowledge our older adults and the people who serve them as vital parts of our community. National Police Week, May 11th through the 16th, and Peace Officers Memorial Day, May 15th. Whereas members of the Lebanon Police Department played an essential role in safeguarding the lives and property of the citizens of Lebanon, and whereas it's important that all citizens know and understand the problems, duties, and responsibilities of their police department, and members of our police department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property. And whereas nearly 60,000 assaults against law enforcement officers are reported each year, resulting in approximately 16,000 injuries. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Paul R. Aziz, declare May 11th through the 16th, 2022, as Police Week in Lebanon, and publicly salute the service of law enforcement officers in our community and in communities across the nation. I further call upon all citizens of Lebanon to observe Sunday, May 15th, as National Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of all fallen officers who have been killed or disabled in the line of duty. Okay. Okay. So the next one up would be City of Lebanon Planning Commission update.
So while they all get up here, I'll just do a quick introduction. The Planning Commission is an active board for the city of Lebanon that does quite a lot of work. And so we thought it would be a good idea to have some of the planning commissioners come, provide a quick update of the work that they do, and sort of enter into a dialogue with the city council about some things of interest that have been going on. So I will let them all introduce themselves, but here they are.
Good evening. I'm Planning Commission Chair Jeremy Salvage, Vice Chair Don Robertson on the end there. I have members Christina Brashear and Chad Munn with us tonight. Don and I, we both have a couple little things to go over, and then we'll all be available for questions, comments for you guys. Just an update on what's been going on as far as the Planning Commission goes. I know you guys see a fair amount of what we do because an annexation or significant development will be approved by us to be seen by you for final approval. So you guys get a lot of the things that come through us first. But some of the things you guys don't see in the last year and a half, we've approved 392 apartment complex units. That's individual units, not buildings. They're approved or under construction. For single family and multifamily homes, we've approved 128 new parcels for single family duplex. We've seen a significant amount more of apartments going in Lebanon in the last 5 years than we have single family houses, and it's really market driven. You know, we'd all like to see big, nice new subdivisions come in with single family homes, but it's the market is what drives developers to put in what they think is going to be the most bang for the buck. For commercial activity, there's a recent approval, and as you guys have seen, if you drive by Safeway on Airport and Primrose, there's a new brewery and food cart pod that's going in. It looks like it's getting pretty close to wrapping up. There's been an expansion of commercial buildings on Montesa Way, which runs off of Oak Street in that industrial park. Multi-use buildings completed at Mill Race. It's where the Barcidius Brew House is, out there on the north part of town across from the hospital. The Oregon Department of Veterans Affairs has expanded their property and their development on Hansard Avenue and several mini storage developments. There's also a dentist office going in on Market Street, and Western University continues their expansion. The most recent being the purchase of Hometown Furniture, and they put their physical therapy program in there. State of Oregon in, I'm just going to say 2019, it could have been 2018, passed a law, and it requires all communities in Oregon to do an assessment of their housing needs analysis and a severe rent burden. To put it as basic as I can, the city of Lebanon is required to regularly do an inventory of housing that's available, and also how much that housing, I guess, would be considered affordable, or people who are, it would cause them a severe rent burden. The numbers are in 2019, 35.8% of all renters in Lebanon were designated as severely rent burdened, which is paying over 50% of your income towards housing and utilities. In 2020, that number went down to 32.9%. In 2021, it continued to drop to 29.2%. And in 2022, it's down to 26.1%. A lot of that is the additional housing availability we have, mostly because of apartment complexes have been put in. We've increased the volume, so rents haven't gone up as much as they have in other places. And that is all I have as far as the update. Oh, we did realize recently that we're also the Historical Landmark Commission. The Planning Commission is. We function as that, and in the 12 years that I've been on the Planning Commission, that was the first that I had heard of that. So we're gonna start reviewing that more with Kelly and having more regular meetings on the historical landmarks in the city. That's all that's on my sheet. The thing I would like to mention for the council, I know a lot of you guys are aware of this, but one of the things that Lebanon and Oregon, but specifically Lebanon, that we're really fighting an uphill battle is the wetlands issue. And a lot of people think that wetlands means there's cattails and swampy area and there's lots of animals out there. Well, wetlands really, for the public that's here listening to this as well, wetlands is a soil type that's decided by a geologist. They take a soil sample. If that soil type will allow a certain type of plant life to live, then it is designated wetlands. All the industrial land are on the west side of Lebanon and the north side, west side of Lebanon. A lot of it is either designated wetlands or has a significant portion of those acreages that are designated wetlands. And it makes it significantly expensive, more expensive to build than it would be on just a normal farm field that's not designated wetlands. Almost all the wetlands that we have are just ryegrass farm fields. So you wouldn't know it by looking at them that, oh, that's a wetlands. There's a nice farm field. Why doesn't a big company come and put a distribution center or something there? Well, it's going to be significantly more costly for them to do that in Lebanon as opposed to if they find a spot in Salem or Utah or Wyoming where they don't have that issue. So we just recently expanded with the West Side Interceptor sewer line coming to the south part of town. There's more development opening up for housing. But the industrial land that we have in Lebanon is mostly on that west side of town, north side of town. And for us to bring more businesses in and bigger industry, we're at a disadvantage. So there's the state, the state could, I guess there's multiple options, but the thing that I think would be the best for the communities in Oregon is if the state provided their own wetlands bank, which is they build wetlands somewhere and you substitute those wetlands for the ones you're building on. It's really expensive for a developer or for a city like Lebanon to do that themselves. It's basically unaffordable. But if the state, who's flush with cash right now, were to do something like that, it would really help out Lebanon specifically and then a lot of the other Mid-Valley communities. That's all I have. I think Dawn has kind of what the Planning Commission does in general.
So just weighing in a little bit on his wetlands comments. It's a requirement, of course, of the city to maintain a 20-year buildable supply. And we did that inventory a few years ago. And according to the inventory, we've got about a 50-year buildable supply. The reality is with the wetlands situation, we've probably got less than 20% of what they said we had. It was an interesting discovery. When we questioned them about the wetlands, they said they couldn't consider that as a constrained element. So do a little further investigation. Wetlands is not part of a constrained land. It's not part of the definition. So as far as they were concerned, it's good to go. So that's one of the blockages we have. Jeremy mentioned a little bit about the rent burden, severe rent burden hearing that we had. And just to fill you in a little bit on it, and Commissioner Olfers was instrumental in that conversation. We're required to do that in order to try to come up with some ideas, some plans on how we may be able to get away with it. And I think we've done a really good job of backing away from the number one position that we were in for a while. But what we heard mostly was not really what we were expecting. We had several that testified mostly that they, for whatever reason, didn't qualify to rent a building, whether it be the recent breakup or could be credit issues or no credit at all or several different things, which really wasn't part of our purview. But it was an interesting discussion. And I had a visit with a property manager about that same issue. And her comment was that if they are working with an advocate, they are much, much more likely to find housing. And so that got me thinking, and I think the only one that I know of is in Albany. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we might consider putting some type of a renters advocacy program together. And honestly, I don't know what that would look like. It's a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but I know it's a huge issue in this town. We've got several that are rent burdened just because rents have gone up and their income hasn't. The only other thing that I had on my mind that I wanted to toss out to the council, some of you councilors that's been here for a long, long time, I know Paul, Wayne, you probably remember when we had joint hearing or joint meetings, not hearings, but joint meetings, kind of for whatever reason, we would kind of bounce things off of each other. This is the first time that we've been in front of you in a really, really long time. And I would like to have you consider maybe once a year or whatever works, just do a joint meeting where we can just kind of bounce things. For instance, that severe rent burden hearing would have been great to have a joint meeting for that. And I realize it's not part of your agenda, but it would have been good for everybody to hear what went on that evening. So just something to throw out and for you to consider.
It's a great idea.
Good idea. I think the last one we had, we went to Pine Way,
Yeah, and we
For
had
dinner.
one at the old Century Tel building.
Century Tel building.
Yeah. Do you guys have any comments?
Do you guys have any questions for us, or you would like us to clarify anything? I'm trying
Is the
to,
commission currently full, member-wise?
we are not full. We have room for alternates right now. We've had a lot of turnover in the last 2 years, I'd say. We had a pretty steady group for quite a while. Then we've had a lot of turnover, just people moving in and out of town in the last 2 years. But no, we're not full.
I just want to say I appreciate what you guys do for the city, and I think you're one of those behind the curtain all-stars kind of, because people don't realize the amount of work you do, the amount of prep and studying and research that goes into the decisions you make, and the amount of pressure that you guys are put under by the public and by the laws to make the correct decision for the city of Lebanon. So when those things come to us with your recommendation, we know that it's been vetted. We know that it's been looked at with a fine tooth comb, and that the right decision is likely going to be in there, and we just need to see it ourselves. So that makes our job as a council really really easy to handle when it gets to us. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate all your service and time. It doesn't
So
go
Jason,
unnoticed.
you reminded me of one other thing I wanted to mention. One of the things that we've struggled with over the years, I've been there almost 25 years, and it's pretty much the same every year, where the public doesn't have a grip on what the Planning Commission is about. Their mindset, in fact, I met with a neighborhood group that wanted to know, and their mindset was, well, an application comes to you, and if you like it, you approve it, and if you don't like it, you throw it out. And it took quite a bit of understanding that that's, it's way different. I looked up on the internet does other jurisdictions have a video that the public can look at, or how are they educated? And honestly, I didn't find anything. And I was a little bit surprised at that, but it would be kind of cool if there was some type of an education tool that the public could take a look at before, as part of the applications or part of the testimony or whatever.
Yeah, I agree, and that's one of the things that we ended up explaining here. And thankfully, I had the experience working with you, Don.
Yeah, you
on the
did.
Council for several years, and or on the council, on the commission. And that's a tough job because you guys have to look at this specific criteria, and it's not whether you feel emotionally good about it. It's about whether it fits that criteria or not. And so we really do, like Jason said, appreciate your hard work. And love your idea about meeting once a year. I think that's a really good idea. Because sometimes I do feel we're a little detached, other than when we get stuff from you and, we're working on things. But I think that would be a great idea. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Anything else?
Not,
Appreciate you
Yeah.
taking the time to
Yeah,
listen.
thanks
to
for your
us.
Yeah,
time.
absolutely.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Next up, Lyrica Networks.
Can y'all hear me
That's
okay?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, try to share screen here. Can you see that?
Nope.
What do you, nothing sharing?
We're just seeing you.
Oh, there we go.
Hopefully it's not a network issue.
No,
But,
yeah, you don't want the internet guy having tech support issues. That's not good. Well, I appreciate you having me today. I wish I could have been there in person, but this just worked out better for my family. So thanks for making this work. Today, I just wanted to share kind of the local internet provider perspective on what we see the internet situation in Lebanon. In case you need it for the record, I put all my contact information here, and I can send the slides to whoever might want them. All right. When I say local, what is a local provider? Lyrica has been in business 20 years. We're headquartered in Philomath. We use fixed wireless internet. It's kind of like cell phone, but the receiving end is fixed to people's homes or place of business. You can't wander around and get our service anywhere. We also use fiber technology. We are emphasis on internet that just works, very transparent in our pricing and our speed offerings. If we say your bill is $69 a month, that's what it is. No taxes, no fees. We're confined to the Willamette Valley, I should mention. And then just an interesting note, one reason I was excited to get on this agenda is Lebanon's been really good to Lyrica. It's our fastest growing market right now. And part of the reason I was happy to share some of this. So what does the FCC say the internet situation is in Lebanon? This is a map that's publicly available. And it would tell you, if you look at the color scheme down here, we've got anywhere from 3 to 6 providers able to provide quality internet all throughout Lebanon and the surrounding area. If this were true, I would say you're in great shape, and that'd be the end of the report. This is remarkable. You don't see that very many places. What we're seeing is this, and basically Lebanon's got one provider that's pretty consistently providing internet throughout the community. I pulled Lyrica out and I made some other modifications to better illustrate. If you look down here, the green color means there's one provider providing good internet. And then you can see if you get very far out of town, there's really nothing much out there besides some of us fixed wireless providers. And why is there such a big difference? The main reason is just the way the reporting is done is antiquated. And the two of those issues are, one, it's self-reported. So Lyrica files reports every quarter, so do all the other providers. And we tell you where we provide service and what speeds we can provide. And I genuinely believe most providers are honest, that no one's trying to deceive anybody and over-report, but there is some incentive to over-report. So I think when they're reporting, they don't err on the side of caution. They're saying, yeah, we hit that house. The other problem is if you look at this big circle here, or any of the blocks, these are census blocks, census block groups. If you hit one house anywhere in this block, the way the reporting works, it says you hit the whole block. And so there's that's prone to leaving some big gaps in there. And when I say gaps, what does this mean? Why does this matter? As you're probably pretty aware, there's a couple $1 trillion coming down the line for internet access from the federal government. Some of that came in 2020 through CARES Act funding. And we're seeing more come out this year and into next year. And we want to make sure the mapping data is ultimately going to decide where the money goes. It's going to be a key factor, I should say, in where the money goes. And most people acknowledge that there is this discrepancy. So most grant funders are not relying only on this data, but this is kind of a starting point. It's a universal, we start here and then tell us why it might be something like this. And so we're working as part with the state and some other folks to try to improve mapping. And then ultimately, if you're seeing what we're seeing, the encouragement is to just to make sure Lebanon doesn't miss out on this opportunity that's happening now and going to continue to happen. To even if you thought the internet access is pretty good throughout town, you know, if there's a couple $1 trillion, I'd want my fair slice of that if I were running the city. And then finally here, what can you do? I mentioned the mapping. The state broadband office is working on mapping. If you're not aware of that, I do recommend you reach out to them and ask what you can do to help. There's a local broadband advisory or broadband action team, and then the state broadband advisory council. They're both doing a lot of work right now. Hopefully someone's engaged with them at some level. If you need help getting in touch, I'd be happy to help. And then finally, look for ways to leverage any available dollars you have. If you have a couple $100,000 left over from ARPA, maybe find a way to roll that into a $2.5 million grant or something for the community. I kind of flew through that. I want to be respectful of your time. Did you have any questions?
I guess my question is to you, what do you want to see for Lyrica besides taking over the whole community?
For Lyrica, it kind of goes back to our roots. So we were founded by a couple of brothers who were tired of being mistreated by their provider, frankly. So Lyrica's goal is to provide options everywhere. Right now, and for the foreseeable future, that means the Willamette Valley. So we'd love to see fair competition, and if we could, frankly, we'd love to see all the grant money go away and just let people, compete honestly, because that seems to be working pretty well. But providing options for everybody is ultimately Lyrica's goal.
Okay. Other questions? Yeah.
For those listening and watching, could you tell us how this works for a home and how it works for business?
How our internet works?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So if you look up to the east of town, Ridgeway or Peterson Butte, you'll see some towers up there, and we've got equipment on both. Actually, 3 towers between those two, and they're we call them radios or antennas. So there's a radio that plugs into an antenna that broadcasts a signal using microwave frequencies. I don't know how technical to get, but between typically the 3 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz bands. And sometimes people get concerned when they hear radio frequencies. We're well below the light spectrum. Anything below the light spectrum has been found to be non-ionizing, meaning it doesn't cause cancer, essentially. So it's very safe. The only way you could get hurt with our frequencies is if you amped up the tower 1,000 times beyond the legal limit and stood really close to it. So there's no harmfulness there. But we send that signal out from the tower, and it's broadcasting in 360. We have a lot of equipment up there. And then we need clear line of sight or nearly clear line of sight at a specific location where we'll put a radio on the other end. Imagine maybe a 12-inch to 18-inch satellite dish pointed at that tower. And as long as we can get, like I said, a reasonable line of sight, and the closer you are to the tower, the less clear it needs to be. We can connect you with speeds up to 100, sometimes 120. There's some technology we've tested and we've ordered a bunch of called Tirana that's enabling us to provide 450 megabits a second to folks. And it's just remarkable technology. And we're actually working with Polk County right now to deploy that in some areas out there that people are struggling to get internet access.
So what you're saying is if I'm a home or business, I contact your company, you come out, if we agree to the amount, you come out to my house, put an antenna, put a satellite dish on it, and I get internet that I pay you for.
That's exactly
Is that
right.
correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I want.
Very concise.
And you said you have a starting price. What's the rate?
Our lowest plan is $49 a month, and that's not going to do much for most families. It's just if you need some access. Our most common plan is a $69 plan, and that takes care
And
of
what-
most families.
And what's the
Right.
speed at $69?
Well, you're the first to hear publicly, but it's just being moved up to 25 megabits a second. And it's a little bit tricky when we talk speeds because most people will advertise the max speed. When we state a speed, just along with our transparency, that's the minimum. That's what you're going to get at all times. So 25 megabits a second will allow you to stream 5 different shows at once, play video game, and probably have 1 Zoom call.
Last question, when will this be available to the community?
It's available now.
available
Lebanon's a
now?
rock star for us. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So the way you engage us, I wasn't planning on a sales pitch. I probably should have been ready. But you just call our office, and then we have tech. We run it through our systems, and it tells us whether or not we can get you signal. So we can tell you over the phone. Actually, the best way to do it is just go to our website and plug in your information there, and then we'll call you back the next day and let you know what we found.
Thank you.
One quick last
You bet.
question. Do you have hardware wired connections, or is it all wireless?
We have communities where we've installed fiber. Brownsville is a great example. We went into Brownsville, and at this point, I think 80% of the residents are hooked up to fiber. Eventually, we'll be up to, I hate saying 100%, but really close to 100%. But not in Lebanon. Lebanon, it's a dream of ours to be able to fiberize it because it's been such a good town for us. But we're not there yet.
Okay. Any other questions? We need to move on. Thank you very much. And I have to say, I used to repair computers, and in my business, I would get people coming in, and I never heard anything negative about their service. In fact, it was always positive. So you guys are doing something right.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Next up, recognition. Surprise.
Right.
Jason and I ran for office 10 years ago. It's been a long 10 years. Yeah. Not because of Jason, but sometimes, at times, it has been. But we've had a great time. We came on when the council was cantankerous. We came on when there was threats of lawsuits from counselor to counselor. It was horrible. And none of it was recorded at that time. So no one really knew what was happening at the meetings unless you came to the meetings. That's one of the things that we did immediately was to get YouTube recordings so that we were immediately on YouTube. And that's been happening for 10 years. So we've done some great things together. Jason has been a great part of the council. Last couple of years been the council president, taking care of things when I've been busy. And I just want to say I really appreciate all your service and all your help, along with your, Boys and Girls Club and the fire department and all the other things that you've done. So come on up and I'll give you a nice little plaque. The plaque says, Jason Boland, City Councilor, Ward 3, January 2013 to April 2022, in recognition for appreciation over 9 years of commitment, accomplishments, and contributions to the city of Lebanon.
Sir.
Absolutely. Let's see if we can get
The handshake.
There we go.
Yay.
So,
You didn't wait long enough. He was gonna.
I want to thank council and thank the mayor and the city staff. And real quick, just to kind of tell everyone what's happening. So I've accepted a position at the Bend Fire and Rescue Department in Bend, Oregon. I'm going to be their next deputy chief of prevention there. And I start on May 16th. So things are moving pretty rapidly. So that's why I'm leaving. I won't be in my ward anymore. And so wasn't the plan, but here we are. So I want to thank you guys for the support and for the the action of this council over the last 10 years. It's been amazing. It's been a great learning experience. One of the best learning experiences of my adult life has been sitting in this room and sitting at City Hall and learning about city government and what it does. And I want to thank all of our staff. Our city staff and our directors are just amazing people, and they do amazing work. They take a lot of heat at times, and I've taken a lot of heat defending them, but I would take that heat all day long, because what they do for the city is always for the city first and the citizens first. There's never any question in my mind about that. So we are fortunate in Lebanon to have this staff, this group of employees. We're fortunate to have this council and that planning commission that you met earlier today. They're just consummate professionals in a volunteer world that we're in. So it's been a pleasure. It's been an honor, and I want to thank you for that. And I will not be a stranger, but I will not be around much after May. So thank you for everything. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we'll have public comments. Due to as many cards as I received today, please respect the time limit because it's going to be tight, and we have a long agenda tonight after that. So citizens may address the council by filling out a testimony comment card, which a lot of you have done, prior to speaking, and hand it to the city recorder. Each citizen is provided up to 5 minutes to provide comments to the council. The council may take an additional 2 minutes to respond. The city recorder will accept and distribute written comments at a speaker's request. Public comments can also be submitted by email and other things. So first up, Keith Murphy.
Well, as you know, I'm usually on the negative side. On page 4 of 6, on the 80 acres that was purchased by whoever, and you're talking about the road development. Chairman Salvage opened the public hearings, and you're talking about the road that has parking on both sides. I don't know, it doesn't say what road it is, but Brian or Commissioner Prenuva, who that is, asked the new road would be a private road or a public street. City engineer Whitlatch indicated it would be a public street. Now, I don't know how soon this is going to all take place or anything, but you went on to say that it would have parking on both sides of this particular street. And I don't, like I say, I don't know when this is going to start, but my question to you folks is, there's several streets here in Lebanon that are falling apart. Pine Street being one of them. You put coal patch on Pine Street and it's all but gone. It's falling apart. Pine, coal patch don't last, but maybe 6 months at the most. Wagon Wheel is also falling apart. Are you going to fix those first before you start on this project?
There's a schedule for maintenance that they follow as far as road maintenance goes. They go out and they survey, they rate what needs what and how, and what the severity of the damage is, to my knowledge. And so those things are handled in a prioritized manner where the immediate priorities are handled first, and then they get to the lesser and lesser ones. So if a road would be very lightly traveled or hardly traveled at all by traffic count means, that would probably be a low priority for the maintenance crew to get to. Whereas the highly traveled collector streets and arterials would be the high priority because they have thousands of cars going over them a day. So there is a method. And if you want to talk to Ron Whitlatch at the city hall, he'll explain to you what that process is of how they rank that every year. He goes through that with the streets
because
department.
That's, Pine Street is really bad. You can't hardly drive down it.
Yeah, Ron could tell you about that a little bit more.
All right. Okay. You have $325,000 in the China virus recovery, 325,000. You're going to use $38,000 in the trail. I guess one of the trails, it says. Now, you're getting $2.6 million from the state. Are you going to replace that?
Replace what?
The 38,000. Is that going to be replaced? That's for the China virus that you're going to take out. You haven't used it yet, I realize that. But either you're not going to take it out or you are.
I believe what you're referring to is the state grant to BLT that's coming to the city to build a trail. The state grant is $325,000. Build Lebanon Trails is raising $38,000 for the local match. Neither of those pieces has anything to do with the $2.6 million other than both of those properties are happening at the Cheetah Lake Park. So the two projects may be done in conjunction with each other because construction being construction, but they were two separate grant applications, two separate pots of money.
Not according to this. The $38,000 is coming out of the $325,000.
No, the $38,000 is in addition to that, and it is coming as donations from Build Lebanon Trails.
Where'd you get the 38,000 then?
They're raising the funds, donations. They
Build
do
Lebanon Trails.
fundraisers. Build Lebanon Trails is doing that. That was their commitment to the project when they applied for the $325,000 grant.
Okay, so the 38,000 is. or
Not
the
city money.
25,000 is still in place
That's correct.
for the China virus.
It is from funding from the American Rescue Plan Act that went to the state, where state legislators were given monies they could allocate to their local communities. And Representative Kate included that in the state budget to go to build this section of trail.
All right, so it's still in place.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Bill Sullivan.
Had a reprieve for the last 2 years. Hey, Bill.
Good to see you, Bill.
You came back just for me, didn't you, Bill?
Yeah, if I'd known Jason was leaving, I'd brought some booze. We'd had a party. But he's going to God's country over there in Central Oregon. I lived there for umpteen years. But anyway, the city's always bragging about their water. And a couple of years ago, I had family from out of state. We went to the local restaurant. And like I've said before, the water in this town ain't fit for anything but take a shower and wash clothes. And we went there again week and a half ago, and it hasn't changed a bit. It still tastes like hell. And then we need to change the city's name. With all this construction of this housing, the apartments and the duplexes, I think we need to change it to Dupart. You got the duplexes and the apartments. So we need to change it to that, to my notion. And then I apologize to Jason for leaving, but like I say, the duplexes and the apartment houses are going in here. You need to change the name to coincide with it. So that's my 2 bits.
Okay, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Dupart, huh?
Dupart.
That's different.
Sounds kind of French. I don't know.
Could be.
Okay, next up, Wyatt.
Thank you, Mayor Aziz. Thank you, Lebanon City Council. My name is Wyatt King, and I'm here today to ask the City of Lebanon to throw its weight behind Lebanon Amateur Radio Emergency Services. My fellow conspirator, Merlin Egan back there, he's going to come up soon to tell you about how they can help Lebanon's local telecommunications be backed up by a radio-based technology resilient against many disasters that our town faces. But I wanted to set the stage first. As many of you probably know, I'm a bit of a prepper on my personal time, and I'm involved in a couple of efforts to help get Lebanon up to snuff when it comes to being prepared for the Cascadia subduction quake and other disasters. And one of the big priorities that the Live Longer Lebanon Emergency Management Committee has is getting our communication shored up, because communication is one of the most important aspects of emergency services. This week is National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. We honor our dispatchers because they are vital to the safety and well-being of our town. In addition to the care that dispatchers give us over the phone, they are the pivotal link in a chain of emergency services. When our home is on fire or a family in danger, we call 911 and help is on the way. For anyone who's ever had to make that call, they know that there is no sound more relieving and hopeful than that of sirens drawing near. Our telecommunications, our dispatchers, they are what make that relief and our daily peace of mind possible. Now, the systems that our dispatchers and emergency services use are digital and connected. If the internet goes down, if our power is taken out, what systems do we have in place to maintain emergency services, medical services, and communication? Lebanon ARES, Amateur Radio Emergency Services, has the answer to this troubling question. And they are looking to reinforce our telecommunications and make our community more robust against disaster. Our community faces many disasters that threaten our most essential services when our need will be most dire. Disasters such as the Cascadia subduction earthquake, a 9.0 earthquake that will have 7.0 aftershocks, or a Carrington event, coronal mass ejection, a solar flare that could knock out power for weeks.
Need you to finish up, Wyatt.
Okay. Or digital attacks against our internet or electrical services. All of these and more could break down that vital connection. Now, we have what we need already to back up that communication in a trailer parked out behind Samaritan. Lebanon Amateur Radio Emergency Services has what they call the Arden Amateur Radio Emergency Data Network. This is a mesh network powered by dozens of connected individual nodes. They rely on local power that can be stored in batteries or ran from a generator. They are mobile, and they can be used to connect us on the same functional level as the internet. The technology is solid, tried and true, and the need is there. I ask that Lebanon City Council, no worries, support Merlin Egan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wyatt.
Thank you. And that will lead into Merlin. Is that correct, Merlin? that your name?
Pardon me?
Is that your name, Merlin?
Yes, Merlin Egan, yes.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Thank you, Wyatt. I'm a ham radio operator. Within 97355 zip code, there are over 200 ham radio operators. We've got the trailer that Wyatt mentioned is a 16-foot utility trailer that we have a number of radios, computers, and the Arden link. Arden was developed in Southern California where they deal with emergencies on a pretty regular basis. And it's interesting this evening that Lyrica was presenting. A good portion of the equipment that we use is purchased secondhand from Lyrica. What we do is we flash a different operating system that's devised by the Arden Group, and it uses the same frequencies with channels set aside by FCC strictly for ham use. So use the same equipment. It behaves just like your internet does, but it is not connected with the internet. So at some point, when the internet goes down, the way we put it, we don't say if, we just say when. We're ready. Many of our systems are set up like ours in the trailer. We have large batteries, a good set of solar panels, and they're charged all the time. So when we need, I test that trailer once a week, but all we need to do is open the door, turn it on, and it works. So what we're looking to do is expand that beyond that. Arden is operated by ham radio, people with ham radio licenses. So, and it's relatively new, so we need to expand it. And one way to expand that is, as the gentleman from Lyrica mentioned, you need a direct line of sight or near direct line of sight. Our hams with their dish antennas on their homes, it's difficult to go point to point. We need some elevation. So we're looking for places. And one of the hams in our group is he works for Rick Franklin. And there was some talk back pre-COVID about using the water tower at the north end of town, which is very nicely placed, actually. If we could put our antennas up there with sector antennas, we could cover a good portion of the city so that you could make a connection to any of those ham radio operators' homes or the fire station, the police station. And we are connected from the hospital to a tower at Rogers Mountain right now. And then that connects us to a very large group in Salem. Salem is expanding. They're a more wealthy community than we are, and there are more hams up there. But so we're right now, we're not asking for anything. We want you to be aware that we're here, that we've got a plan. We need to finalize that plan and make it work. We're not a solution looking for a problem. We have technology. We know how to use it. We have experts that work with us that are among our group, and we can work with you to devise a plan to make sure that connectivity is there. We can't replace the internet because we go point to point. The more points we have connected, then you can transfer information, data over that network, point to point, the more nodes we have, the more points we have, the more communications amongst our neighborhoods and priority need facilities.
Well, thank you very much. I would hope that the city would want to work with you folks because that's an absolutely important part of our emergency communications and disaster preparedness. So I appreciate you kind of bringing that to our attention. And Wyatt, also you, Mr. Prepper, thank you very much. But we appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
Wyatt, would you contact me about some equipment that I would like to see ham radio operators have? Thank you. I have a tower and radios and everything.
Well. Okay, next up is Tammy Cochran.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Tammy Cochran, and I'm in front of you this evening to express my support for the Pride Proclamation that should have landed in your email earlier today. When my partner Tom and I moved to Lebanon fall of 2020, I loved that this was a small and thriving community. I loved that people that we engaged with in the downtown shops were so friendly and welcoming. I loved that the neighbors in our neighborhood cared about their neighbors and made it a point to come over and introduce themselves when we first bought our house. That was not our experience in Portland. I love that there are wild flocks of turkey roaming the city streets. I love the BLT trail system that I use on a daily basis. And I especially love that the city's vision statement includes that Lebanon is a welcoming community that embraces inclusivity and diversity. On the surface, I believe that this is indeed the intent. But when meeting and talking with our LGBTQ plus community, including youth and allies, I discovered that the reality of inclusivity in our city might not be embraced. It's very easy for organizations to state that they are inclusive and value diversity, and you see it in almost every city's vision and mission statement. But it's not as easy to show the steps that are being taken to support the words that we are so proud of in our vision statement. The signing of the Pride Proclamation would be one step that would show that our city is working towards inclusivity because we value diversity. And maybe more importantly, is that we value the opportunity for everyone to live their best lives outwardly without judgment or persecution. I believe in Lebanon's vision statement, and I believe that messaging that vision should be the next step. So I encourage you to move the proclamation forward for signature in May, declaring June Pride Month. So thank you very much for your time, and as always, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cassie Cruz, LDA update. Or Lebanon Downtown Association, if you don't know what the LDA is.
Yeah, you can make whatever acronym if you really want, but I prefer Downtown Association. Hey, everybody. So you all have in front of you the little downtown update that you have. First page of it kind of just goes over and talks about the foot traffic that we've had for the last quarter. And when I say the last quarter, I should probably be a little bit more specific in the fact that, you know, obviously the quarter is January through February, or sorry, through March for the first quarter. But we don't really hold events through January. We primarily do February onward. So when you look at these numbers here, the 712 people that came downtown, that's from just for First Fridays alone from February, March, and then the April 1st Friday. So we're seeing a significant deal more foot traffic downtown. And what you see to the other end of that bar there is the dollar amount. It could be per Oregon Main Street, approximate about $20 per person that comes downtown. And as that states there, that's between fuel spent, that's between people going to restaurants, and then just buying items as they partake in downtown festivities and walk downtown. So that kind of is there for you guys to kind of read over and look. But what I've really kind of liked, and since we've been utilizing things like Eventbrite and a few other kind of tracking or say registration platforms, as we've been able to see where people are coming in from. And as you can tell, about 70% of our market that we're capturing is, of course, Lebanon, because we're Lebanon-based downtown. We're marketing to our community, so we expect that. But we're growing significantly and gaining about, 25% outside of our area. And I was surprised to see people from Washington to come down. Granted, it was a family visiting in the area that was coming through, but they had heard just about the event through them kind of just finding places along their travels. So finding our website. So we're getting a lot more uptake in our website, as well as people are, of course, venturing out and finding us. So they're leaving their communities. We're gaining more people from Albany, Corvallis, and of course, gaining some from Sweet Home. So we are growing year over year, which feels really good about our events. And then so to the other page of that, for that significant growth, we really, as everyone knows, I just sit here, talk to you, but it really takes a team of volunteers to make this happen. This is not Cassie's thing. This is everybody. It really is a community-based organization. And we've done really significantly well in tracking our volunteer hours. So we're actually double the hours for volunteers. And you can see at the top, some of the areas our volunteers we've been working on. Of course, there's a lot of planning that goes into, the arts program. There's a lot of planning that goes into the concert series. So everyone's starting now and getting ready and gearing up for these big events. Same thing with our community cleanup day that we're going to have. So this is the 769 hours, 0.5 is based off of volunteer hours that were held by Downtown Association committee members, board members, and of course through the community, because even our businesses have found as First Fridays is picking up, they're needing to get some more help. They can't afford, of course, to pay someone, maybe an extra staff person, but they are bringing in help. Maybe business owners that are open at that time period or not taking part in First Fridays, they're coming to other businesses like Ira from Let It Be. It's probably a really good example of that. Anyone who's ever been in there knows Ira takes care of the counter. She does it all. So when she needs help, she garners the helps from one of the ladies from Anytime Fitness and comes and does all the First Friday stuff. So we have a lot more support that's going into this, which means, of course, just more dollars that goes back into our community. And you can see the dollar amount and what that's based actually off of, as it says there, minimum wage. So that's dollars that are going into events that the city's not having to spend for, we don't have Parks and Rec. So we hold a lot of events, a lot of concert series. So that takes away a lot of the dollars that would be the burden for the city, having our volunteers put that effort forward. So we have a lot of great things coming up. We actually just submitted a grant for the revitalization grant for the Oregon Main Street program. That is a $200,000 grant, and that's going to be, we've submitted that for 2 of our buildings downtown, the Courtney Block building and the Lebanon Hotel, because both of those are looking to put upper floor residential in their buildings, and they're just needing a little bit more support on that. So with that said, that's Downtown Association. Very quick thing. I'm removing that hat and putting on my mom hat very quickly. So hi, Cassie Cruz, Lebanon resident here. I'm in huge support of the Pride Proclamation. Having a child who's part of the LGBT community and many friends and family members who've dealt with persecution over the years, I honestly see this as a step of living democracy for our children and for ourselves as a community to support and truly be the community that friendliness built. So with that said, I bid you adieu. But before that, any questions?
Yes.
Why do you think that we're seeing people from Portland?
Because Portland's not as open as we are. We have a lot more events and a lot more things happening. Some of our more higher populous density areas are being more careful about COVID right now and holding events. So they're getting out and they're getting to smaller communities because we're the ones holding this. And we've been one of the few communities that kept going during COVID. So.
Thank you for the information.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good report, Cassie.
Yeah, you're welcome.
If I mess up your name, I really apologize. It's a little hard to read. Zane Chapman? Zane Chapman and Micah Salcido? Mika? Okay. I'm kind of close. Trust me, with the Zeus, they always mess that one up.
I don't blame you.
It's not as is.
As is.
As is.
Yeah, that's true
Wait for
too.
my posse.
I have you all beat with my last name.
Yeah.
So we are here in support of the Pride Proclamation. As a LGBTQ plus member or a community member, as are they, I have dealt with a lot of verbal and physical violence due to my sexuality or gender identity. And for example, in 7th grade, I was choked with my own pride flag just for wearing it. And I can't speak for them, but I wouldn't be surprised if they've dealt with some verbal or physical violence. And just as Lebanon being a city built on friendship and kindness, it's something that I would like to see represented more towards all minorities, including ours.
Personally, I find myself experiencing both sides, and even though I don't experience as much discrimination as my friends, my brother, my mother, or my cousins, I still see a lot. And it's hard to look into a crowd and think whether you're going to walk in there and they're going to see you differently than someone who just experiences the world as someone who's straight. And it's hard to deal with. I wouldn't say that it's the hardest thing, because there are harder stuff, but it doesn't make it any less of a problem. And I'd like to see this representation for everyone in the community.
Okay. Did any of you want to speak? No? Okay. Well, I just want to thank you for your courage coming up here, because I'm sure it is not easy. One, coming out, but two, just coming before public and coming before this council. It's got to be scary as heck. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for coming and sharing with us. And I will take it in consideration on the proclamation.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I think it takes a lot of courage to stand up here in front of everyone and talk about what you experience when it's something negative. There's a lot of hate out there still, and there's a lot of darkness out there still. And the only thing that drives out darkness is light. And you guys are a light for our city, and it's great to see you here expressing this. And I back this 1,000%, and I know it's needed. I don't even think it's needed. I know it's needed. Because there is a community out there that thrives along with our straight community too. So thanks for being here. We appreciate you bringing it to our attention, and good luck with this proclamation. I think you'll have success. I hope you will.
I have a quick question. For those that are listening, how do you feel? How do you think? What do you think that having this proclamation will help our community? How will it help you?
Personally, being able to have the representation and just the thought in the back of people's minds that like we're also human and all humans deserve respect. And also being able to have the feeling of protection pretty much behind it. That's just pretty much why it's important to me.
Knowing that there are people in the community and allies that would show up to these events or just acknowledge it, it would bring a sort of support and happiness to each one of us. And I think that's something that's needed.
And the city bringing this awareness would give you some of that feeling.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask really quickly, thank you first for coming today. I think this is great that you were here. So this council knows, how old are you two? Can I ask that?
I'm 15 years old. I am a high school sophomore.
I am also 15 years old and a high school sophomore.
Again, you're just so brave for being, oh, yes, in the back, would you like to identify how old you are? That's my daughter, by the way.
My God, she's so big. I can't believe that.
Excellent. Thank you for being so brave and coming tonight.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep, you have allies.
Very much so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well spoken.
Okay, Alex McHatted? Is that correct?
Good evening, Mayor Aziz, councilors. For the record, my name is Alex McCadden. I'm the new city recorder of the city of Sotaville. I know we have a lot in common, a lot of shared interests with the city of Lebanon, so I just wanted to come introduce myself and say hello. I'm looking forward to working with all of you in the near future. Thank you.
Great.
Welcome, yeah.
Congratulations.
Good to know.
Good luck. I know Sotaville's had some bumpy roads over there at times.
Yeah, there's a lot I'm working to unravel and disentangle right now, so we'll get things cleared up and shipshape here pretty soon.
Good. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
Thanks. Jonathan Peterson.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you. Hello, Mr.
What's
Mayor.
funny is I have seen you before on Facebook, but I have never met you personally, so that's weird. I've actually seen your posts and things. So, anyways, nice to meet you in person.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to share just a few words tonight about my experience in Lebanon. Before I do that, Brittany, do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, yeah. My name is Brittany Nassar. I am a resident here in Lebanon and I own Mugs Coffee House.
Great. I'm, again, Jonathan
Can you move
Peterson.
the mic a little closer, please?
Yes, thank you. I'm Jonathan Peterson. I'm a local advocate and supporter, entrepreneur, and a homeowner here for about the last 19 years, so I've been hiding out. Before moving here as a kid, I came here for Bill Flesher's skating rink and the Motor View drive-in nights and the square little Caesar's pizzas they used to have, which I miss dearly. This town represented fun for me coming from SIO, and social times, just with kids and people out enjoying themselves. As an out queer citizen, I've had a mixed experience here. Cautious, I'd say, overall. When I was younger, I had visions of seeing one of our old water towers painted with diversity flags, including LGBT representation, of taking a theatrical experience and assembling a group of volunteer performers to maybe sing and dance to a number from Broadway's Kinky Boots, to wanting a local queer resource center similar to work done at OSU and Corvallis. But each time those thoughts have come at some point laced with a little fear, to be honest. I experienced small joys like diversity of people and silliness in Shirley Austin Senior Center-based musical shows. The time we had the warmth of the Rose Street Rainbow House that we all remember. I missed that house. The unification of Mayor Paul and Dela's Blue Angels participating in a gathering of remembrance at the Academy Square following the horrific shooting of Pulse nightclub in Orlando. Those were neat moments. And just the random conversations which bring about identity of supportive allies in small business owners, neighbors, advocates. Some of those coming recently to our town and joining us. Some of the not so nice balance experience always has an experience. I was friends with an administrator here who had decided he couldn't be out professionally for fear of his professional relationships. Eventually, he chose to move away. I remember a post in the Buzz of a local citizen who had their pride flag removed and burned in their front yard. In 2014, I myself experienced a small sign in my yard being removed multiple times. It simply stated, "My church supports marriage equality." It was the year of Oregon's adoption of the right for me to have the same rights as anyone else to marry the one I love. As a business owner, I had a profile picture with a partner at the time, and I had someone online start sending me messages that include harassment and asked if my female genitalia bled too when I complained about things. I rethought online images and censored topics to avoid bias and that uncomfortable nature of things. My idea of a safe community, of course, was threatened in those situations. In a time when one might argue flags and symbols are used politically, I can say without doubt that my intention is to have an equal experience to others in Lebanon, that my pride flag is to identify my support for others who love and who love others similarly, to include, not to discriminate, building our supportive community. I'd appreciate your support of the first Pride Proclamation as an action just to help show me and others continually those that step back just a little more than their neighbor, that our leadership too values their contributions, safety, and experience as we keep building that city that friendliness built. Thanks.
So I personally apologize for my lateness. However, I do know that my representation on this proclamation is more important than my reputation in this case. I did have some customers at the shop that I decided to leave as more important for that purpose, but my representation is important here. I do feel as a local coffee shop, I have the pleasure of having a really personal relationship with lots of the citizens here of Lebanon, and I feel it's my responsibility because of that to share with you that there is a huge amount of fear from multiple ages in this community over this topic. And it's simply because of, I feel, miseducation or just having a lack of an open floodgate for open conversation about where everyone is at is on this topic, because there's some dated values that are brought to the table here. But as you can see, the younger community is in huge numbers here. And that fear bleeds into a section of them not understanding who they are as humans in this community, being afraid to come out and share in entertainment in this community and create entertainment on their own. And so you guys have the power here to open up these floodgates. And while I think a lot of us are prepared for subjugation on many of these topics, like I myself am by, and maybe some people know that, maybe some people don't. And it's not even necessarily relevant. It's not relevant on a daily basis, but by opening those conversations, we can have a much more open community that has less fear and feels a little bit less open to the opportunity of hurting others, including young people. And that's really should be our most important topic here. It's the young community that's questioning. They should have the openness and opportunity to question their humanness, among others. And without those open conversations, without being able to question openly, I don't know that we can get to a place, but it's your guys' power within this proclamation to start opening up that floodgate and start opening up that conversation for everyone to be comfortable and safe. And yeah, I don't think by and large that we're afraid of subjugation, but let's start up the conversation.
Okay.
We look
Thank
forward
you.
to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you for your effort.
Thank you, guys. Two people I'm going to miss the most of my daily work experience. I see these guys every day. Mugs. It's a cool place.
Where was yours?
Okay, with that, we will move on to public hearing. And our agenda item 1, building code program fees, and the public hearing to amend fees and charges for administration and enforcement of the building code program is now open at 7:18 p.m. Will the Community Development Director please present the staff report?
Good evening, everybody. This is a pretty quick, short, and sweet presentation. As part of our electronic permitting system, it is run through the state. The state did a large update to their system, which changed the names of certain fees, which means that we have to change the names of our fees. Since fees are approved by resolution here, we needed to bring it to council to update the names of the fees and then also include some of the fees that are required as part of the state update. So that is what is before you tonight. That concludes my report. I'm available for any questions.
You were right, it was
Any
short.
questions? Okay, I'll have the city attorney read the resolution title.
I think I was on. Am I on? There we go.
Yeah.
Resolution to amend fees and charges for administration and enforcement of the building code program, resolution number 2022-05.
Move for approval?
Second.
We moved a little too fast on the approval there. I needed to ask, does council have any questions of staff? I did that.
It's a public hearing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, public hearing.
Is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of this matter? Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? The public hearing is hereby closed at 7:19.
Made some assumptions.
And now it'll be limited to city council discussion at this time. And the city attorney has read the resolution. I think I just jumped ahead a little bit. Okay, I did. All right. So at this point, I'll entertain a motion.
I move for approval.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution 2022-05. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The resolution passes. Thank you. Okay, the
one
next
day in
public hearing for the Development Code DCA 2201 is now open at 7:20 PM. And will the community director read the staff report?
Easy for you to say.
I know.
More
Uh,
caffeine. Sure.
Good evening again.
Sorry.
It's been so long since I've seen you all, since the last one. This one is fairly quick, short, and easy as well. Our current code for signage identifies that a property can only have one freestanding sign, which is inclusive of a monument sign, which is basically signage that's on a foundation with signage from the ground up, or there's a pole sign that you have a pole and the sign is elevated. The code currently only allows for one per property. Over the years, we have had multiple requests from properties that are on corner lots or have multiple street frontages to ask the question about whether or not they can have a sign on each frontage, which our code currently doesn't allow. This amendment would allow for that. The language is on one land use table that says that you can have one freestanding sign per property street frontage for a single property. And that's interchangeable for monument and freestanding signs. This is pretty consistent with what other cities do. We surveyed 8 cities. 6 out of the 8 do it the way that we're proposing to do it. The other one of them is silent on it, and then the other one does it as we currently have today. So that's my report. I'm available to answer any questions.
I was just curious, did this come up as a issue? Or was this just a cleaning up of the code?
It's has been brought to signage is approved at the administrative level at the over-the-counter process. So we have received questions and requests over the years to be able to do it. A most recent one came up of the brewery that's about to open that has frontage on 2 streets. And so that's the most recent that sort of just tipped the edge of this is a really quick, easy code cleanup that makes sense. And so we brought it forward as a cleanup item at the request of businesses over the years.
Any other questions?
What kind of signs are we actually talking about?
You have signs that are sitting out in the landscape areas close to the streets that advertise the entrance to businesses. Walmart monument sign, for example, the pole sign that's with the Taco Bell shopping center that has the signage on the street. Those are the types of signs we're talking about.
Proposing is that a business that has 2 frontage could have 2 signs.
Correct.
Like this.
Right.
Yeah.
It was the poles that confused me.
The pole sign is like the one at the Taco Bell where it sits on a pole and then the sign is elevated multiple feet above the street so you can see through it. Monument sign is like the one at Western University that's all the way down to the ground.
Are we talking about businesses that are on a corner?
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
This is for everybody that's just listening.
Any property that's on a corner that's inclusive of shopping centers, that still only allows for one per street frontage, but that sign itself can be large enough to where multiple businesses can advertise on that sign.
And with this change, they still have to get permission. They still have to
Always.
get permit cleared and all that for
Correct.
each sign.
Yes.
Any other questions? Is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of this matter? Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Public hearing is closed at 7:24 PM. Any other council discussion? Seeing none, will the city attorney please read the title of the ordinance?
A bill for an ordinance amending the City of Lebanon Development Code regarding signage, ordinance bill number 2022-04, ordinance number 2980.
Move for approval.
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance bill 2022-04. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The ordinance passes. Thank you, Kelly. Matt Apkin. Present. Oh, excellent. I needed some sleepy
I mean, I
time.
was going to ask if you wanted me to go page by page. I'm guessing that's a no.
Next month.
Next month, okay. All right, so Mayor, Council, thanks for having me. We have finally received our audit report from the auditors for the fiscal year 2021 financial statements. I'm happy to announce that the best opinion that's possible from the auditors was received, and we will move on in the future. My staff report contains a lot of information about where you can find specific information. Does anyone want me to go into more detail than that?
Nope.
Getting lots of head shakes, no. If I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, and if you don't have any, then my recommendation would be to have a motion to accept the audit and move on.
Were there any questions on the financial audit?
Are you happy with it? Am I happy?
The work that was done?
Absolutely. I mean, it's been a lot of work. It's been more following up than most anything else. The auditors had some issues with staffing and COVID, so it took a lot longer than it should have, but it's done.
I just want to comment, this is the first financial statement that staff has drafted as opposed to having our auditors draft. And I get it's not titillating reading, but it is a lot of work. It represents a lot of work to express to the community, to the public finance community, the state of our finances, and to be at the place where Matt and our accounting manager, Casey Headley, put the financial statements together ourselves. It's a greatly improved process. It's a greatly improved set of financial statements. I'm super proud of the work they did, and big kudos to Matt and Casey.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Last hurrah. No questions? Okay, with that, I'll take a motion.
You get all of them.
I would move that we approve the audit as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve our formal audit. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion has passed and the audit is approved. Thank you, Matt. And we will temporarily adjourn as the Lebanon City Council and convene as the Lebanon Urban Renewal Agency. I just like doing that because it's kind of fun. Okay, so number 4, go ahead.
All right, so I'm back to present the Lebanon Urban Renewal Agency annual audit. Again, the auditors provided a unmodified opinion is what they stated as, but that's the best opinion you can have, that the financial statements are presented without material misstatement. So I'm happy to answer any additional questions on that, or would ask that there be a motion to approve that audit as well.
I was curious, as you're leaving, is there a whole new genre that you're going into? Because we got map Atkin here on both of those. Map?
Yeah, I'm not sure where the map
changing
came
something.
from, but
All
I can
right.
go by map.
I had to give you a hard time before you go.
It's probably better than what I'm called by some others currently, so.
Any questions on that? Okay. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd move that the council approve the Urban Renewal District audit.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the Urban Renewal District Agency financial audit. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The audit is passed. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks. We'll see y'all for the budget
All
meetings.
right. Yeah,
Yeah, budget's the last hurrah for him.
that's true. I forgot we do have the budget with him.
Map.
Okay, we'll reconvene as the Lebanon City Council. And at this point, number 5, this will be Nancy repealing Resolution 2020-06 regarding declaration of state of emergency regarding COVID-19.
Right, and that ended on April 1st, so this is just your action to officially do that resolution.
Okay. Any questions? City Attorney, read the title, please.
Resolution repealing Resolution 2020-06 regarding a declaration of state of emergency regarding COVID-19, Resolution number 2022-07.
I move for the approval of Resolution 2022-07.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 2020-06. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The resolution passes. Update on redistricting, Nancy.
Right, so y'all know that after the decennial census, there is a process for redistricting that kind of starts at the federal level and moves down. We have looked at population. There's a table in the staff report that shows the growth over the last 10 years, about a 17% growth in the total community to 21,200, which is stunning. As we look at splitting that, that would be 7,067 people per ward to be equally shared. Ward 1 right now is off by 23, and then Ward 2 and 3 are off by close to 200 each and in opposite directions. We do note in the staff report that this was done in 2020, and that was before the apartments in Mill Race were built. The apartments that have gone in down on Russell were in. So we kind of feel like with that development, there's probably a little bit more balance today. And we don't feel like there is enough difference between those ward sizes to require moving any of the ward boundaries. But we kind of suspect that in 2030 census, there is likely to be more change as we look at the annexations coming in the Stoltz-Vaughn area. And if there is development there, we could see more shifting. And so staff's recommendation is that you can leave the ward boundaries as they are for now, but should plan on a 2031 work effort, probably bringing in a consultant to look at population shifts, to look at ward boundaries, and in particular paying attention to the demographics to make sure that those are balanced between the wards. But we could undertake that step now. It would not be in place for this fall's election. We would need to plan for that work in the coming year. But that's where the numbers are coming out for us at this point. You don't need to take any action at this present moment. Close enough.
With all the growth, that growth that's going to happen in the next 10 years, we'll just be revisiting yet again.
Which one are you looking at? So we get numbers. This is the challenge. We get numbers from two different places. The 21,200 is what's coming to us from the federal decennial census. Portland State University is challenged by the state to develop annual updates and annual estimated populations, which they do. I'm gonna look at Kelly. It's a calendar year basis that comes out in July every year, what their update is, and it's an estimate based on things like housing permits that have been issued, any other kind of evidence that they have of population growth. Those numbers true up when the decennial census data comes out, and then from there they continue to move their estimates forward, I think is how that works.
That is correct. In addition to that, the larger number of the 21,000, when you are looking at population data, the smallest area that you can shrink it down to is called a block group in census data. And so that block group is inclusive of some areas that are outside of city limits and even outside of the UGB. But because the population outside of the UGB is so small, it's included within that block group area. And so the larger population is the area within the block groups that are aligned with the wards themselves, which also equates for the differential because it's a bit more than the population in the city.
population, some number,
Just a plus at the end.
21,000.
and growing, and growing. We've been talking about what number to put on, whether we should use the Portland state number or the federal census number or this number. Frankly, I was not aware that at the federal level, the block areas change their numbers. I was thinking the analysis, this is probably something that GIS already has, and you just get the population blocks, compare them up and draw the lines. GIS can do that, just like that. But they change the numbers every year and they change the borders, so those block groups are not consistent from year to year, which creates some real challenges in doing this kind of comparison. And Kelly's original numbers to me actually had decimal places as she was trying to estimate the proportion of people, who were probably outside the city limits, or in some cases, a block crosses a ward boundary. So what's the proportion that's probably in Ward 2 and what's the proportion probably in Ward 3? Because they don't draw the lines consistently with how we've drawn lines. There you go. Thank
What was
you.
your answer?
So
Wayne?
21,000, right? That's what we're going on.
When Jason gets around to it, we'll put up new signs. There you go.
Did you have anything else, Nancy?
That's it on redistricting.
All right. Declaring vacant the Ward 3 City Council seat held by Councilor Jason Boland. All right, the City Council Ward 3 vacancy appointment timeline is going to be Thursday, April 14th. Press release will be sent out. Friday, May 13th, 5 p.m. deadline for applications. Wednesday, May 25th, 12 p.m. City Council meeting to interview applicants. Wednesday, June 8th, 6 p.m. will be swearing in. Applicants must be a registered voter, have lived in the city of Lebanon continuously for a minimum of 6 months prior to appointment, and may not be an immediate family member of an already seated elected official or staff member. And of course, they need to be in Ward 3, obviously.
The best ward. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm with 3. 3's good.
Exactly. See,
But
Mayor
you do need
approves.
to pass the resolution to declare the seat vacant.
Oh.
He just said it was good.
That's okay. If you just,
Okay. We do have a resolution to declare that. So we'll have the city attorney read that resolution title.
A resolution authorizing the city of Lebanon to declare vacant the Ward 3 City Council seat held by Councilor Jason Boland, resolution number 2022-08.
Move for approval.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the vacancy of the Ward 3 council seat. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
All right.
You're no longer a counselor, so I don't care.
The resolution passes.
Now.
Selection of council president. So now that Jason is going to be gone, we need a council president, and I will open it up to accept nominations.
Mayor, I nominate Michelle.
Oh,
Second and a third, all right.
any other?
A lot of discussion.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's been moved and seconded for Michelle Steinhebel to be our council president. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Welcome, Prez.
Thanks. Thank you.
Motion passes.
You get to move away from Trey now.
Do I get more desk space? Or no?
Get this space.
I don't like the corner
You're
space.
going to be next to KJ, and that's really.
No, I don't. All your stuff comes
Okay.
inside.
Do one clarification here. I assume that Councilor Boland would like to take part in the executive session? Okay. Or, because this is effective immediately based on the language of the resolution. I think we could probably amend that pretty quickly to be effective at 12:01 a.m. on the 14th.
Or
Kim?
do you want to go home to your bed?
Or you
So
can go home.
moved. So moved. No, family's there no matter what, so.
So we
It's
make-
the last late night for him. Good.
I would like to amend the motion of, what were we looking at here? Resolution
2022-08.
2022-08 to have this be effective at 12:01 a.m. on Thursday, April 14th.
Very good. I have a second.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to amend the resolution to 12:01 a.m. on Thursday, the 14th. Thank you. And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, you're stuck.
Don't leave yet.
Resolution passes. The amendment passes. Okay, next up, city manager report.
Thank you. I have just a few items. First, our own Nico Bressler in IT has completed a cybersecurity training class at Portland State, flying colors as expected. It's been beneficial to the organization, what he has brought. I think it's been beneficial to the people in the class that he was with, what he brought to them as well. A lot of people who were kind of managers, and he was the most kind of practitioner person in the room with fingers on keyboards. And I think they learned a lot from him. So we are super proud of him and his attendance in that class. I wanted to highlight from the written report, if you didn't get that far so far, Senior Center is fully opening and resuming programming. They will be bringing on board on Monday a program manager to start doing kind of more activities, more classes. So that's geared back up in a post-COVID universe. And beginning on May 2nd, Meals on Wheels will be back to congregate meals at the Senior Center. That's long been wanted by a lot of seniors who like to have that opportunity to come and socialize with other people. So super happy about that. I've had a request from a couple of counselors about getting a table at the Boys and Girls Club fundraiser the city paid. The cost for that is $1,200. It would be for 8 seats. We don't have that in the budget, but could probably find it. But it's not been one the city has paid for in the past, and we don't really have a policy on what the city is doing in terms of contributing on these fundraisers. So I was looking for some input from council, and frankly, would we have 8 people attending that could fill that table?
Pretty sure that has been paid for in the past at time.
Yeah, I attended in the
'cause I've
past
attended
when
under-
it
as a
was
council-
on Fifth
as a-
Street.
and
Okay,
it's been paid.
for a table?
Pretty sure it was a table.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the only thing we had was the Distinguished
was-
Service Awards, and so we were trying to figure that out.
Maybe
It's
it
been a
was-
precedent to have the city manager pay for it out of her personal funds.
That might have been it, actually.
And the city
That's-
attorney.
Hey, now.
Yeah, and the city attorney.
I'll take,
Right back
I'll
at
take
ya.
that personal funds from your checks, so I can do that. Okay, so then we will let them know and see if we can secure tables. So if you're interested in attending, if you can let Kim know, because she'll need to get tickets and get tickets to you. The way that these have worked is the counselor is, the city pays for, your significant other you pay for. And I don't remember what the cost per ticket is for this one, so we can get that if you're interested, so,
I think it's 75.
okay.
And I think maybe in the past, maybe I was wrong.
Am I
Maybe it
right?
was us individuals went, but I know that we went, several of us, and I remember, yeah, it might not have been tables. So it may have been individuals, and that might be a more prudent way to do it at this point, if we don't have it in the budget.
Well, it is one of those things where it's a fundraiser, so buying a table is helpful for the
Right.
Boys and Girls Club. But if we're only going to have a couple of people go, $1,200 is a lot of money. And if we don't fill the table, that seems kind of wasteful because they're going to expect 8 people to sit at that table and they're going to have food for those 8 people. So,
When I recall attending, I had a city staff person attend too with her spouse. But again, maybe I'm thinking incorrectly and it was, we all paid separately. But like Alicia Rogers was at the table, I remember, and her spouse at the time, so,
okay.
or her spouse.
Also, last I heard, they only had one table left. and that
Oh, it might be a
was
moot point.
Over 10 days ago.
There's room
That-
for more and more tables.
They always find a way to get more tables.
Yeah, I guess so.
So if,
Put that
if
out
you
there to
could,
get
if
people
you
to get
could
off the
let,
phone.
if you could let Kim know this week, if you intend to go, that might help us figure out if it's tables or individual tickets, but we'll try tomorrow morning and see if we can get a table still, so. So that was all that I had to report on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
out at Cheetah Lake, so I'm sure they'd find space.
Yes.
Sure. Next up, items from council.
Yeah, couple of things. First of all, I want to talk about the, Main Street. If you drive down Main Street in the evenings, just brighter and clean. And I just want to say that it's really looking good. And although it's dead at 8 o'clock, I'm seeing some great, new businesses moving in, and everybody's got nice, bright signs, me including one of them. And I think we're looking fantastic. But with that said, I have a couple questions, and maybe the chief can help me. Do we have any statutes or laws regarding where people can cross the street on Main Street?
Yeah, it's Oregon Revised Statute. Yep.
Which is what?
On crosswalk, has to be a designated crosswalk or within a certain amount of feet of a crosswalk.
Okay, so can someone get a ticket if they cross the street in the wrong space?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so Rebecca was completely
That's called
wrong.
jaywalking.
I'm saying that out loud because she used to say that we could cross the street anywhere.
That was my first ticket as an officer, by the way.
Yeah, was it?
I didn't get the ticket. I gave it.
Okay, so being right there on right off Vine Street and being the first crosswalk as we enter downtown, is there the opportunity maybe to put up a reminder for folks that they should, does a car have to stop when someone's crossing the street there?
Yeah.
Yes, no question.
Sorry.
They do, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I don't know if that was a question.
there's a couple of people, I've been approached by some business owners and people that are there on a daily basis about the fact that we, sometimes you have to wait a long time for a car to stop. And there's been even myself, I've almost been hit once or twice because I thought someone was going to stop. And I always make eye contact. I'm from Florida. I make eye contact before I go do anything. And that eye contact, sometimes it switches at the last minute. Without bringing any major cost or, having to, anyway, without any major cost, is there a way maybe to put up a sign? There's two places at both of them at Vine and where the other parking lot is. I think it's on Maple. There's no, there isn't a street light there. So a lot of cars just forget that if they see somebody, maybe they should stop and let them cross the street. Is there something we can put up to kind of remind folks to do that?
Is that a striped crosswalk there at Vine? I don't think it is.
I don't think it is either.
But you got the yellow.
Well, the bulb out is there, but I don't think there's an actual stripe there. And that might
yeah.
be an easy first fix or easier.
It's where everybody crosses the street.
Public
After
Works to
you
put
park
down
there
some
and you have to
strips.
cross
Well,
the street there.
It's also an ODOT because it's Highway 20, so it's.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
think
I
ODOT.
also would say, I think our experience is you can be in that painted crosswalk. It's down to whether or not the vehicle stops.
Yes.
And I would say, we could look into whether or not we could get a sign.
Mm-hmm.
It is the law everywhere. Anybody standing on a corner, you are in a car supposed to stop and let them cross. Now, if they're in the middle of the block, you don't have to stop and let them cross. Preferred that you don't run into them if they're in the middle of the street in the middle
Unless
of
it's
the block.
Rebecca.
But that's a
Which are
different
also
story.
her.
Easy target.
But that, it doesn't matter where you are, and there are a lot of cars that don't stop
don't
for
stop.
pedestrians.
So this is the second time I've asked for this. The first time was on Fifth Street, and the consensus was just put up a little sign that we didn't have to get permission to do, the city could do it. And it pretty much changed I'm not saying the accident stopped there on Fifth Street, but they changed, because I have a camera on there. I can see that the accidents changed by the way the cars stop and pull out. So now it's become a visual issue, not an ignorant issue, in terms of that looks like a four-way stop sign, I'm going to go ahead and go. Just thought that if it's, because it is ODOT, which I figured, simple sign, we could put up some sort of reminder to stop when pedestrians are trying to cross the street at both those intersections might be helpful.
And I think the Legion provides great cover for any officer that wants to sit there and like we have so much free time, I know.
Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say it was about a year and a half ago, we actually did a sting.
Mhm.
Yes, and it was successful. So, that's something we could put together and put out on social media, hey, we're going to be doing this, and not really give a date, but kind of brings the attention and awareness part of it. So
Mary and I will cross it over by the Legion,
Mhm.
and that's perilous in a
It is.
wheelchair.
It is.
But
It's perilous
it's
walking.
just part of what you got to do. I mean, it's just the way that it is. You have to wait and watch, like you said. You got to watch for traffic, and it's your responsibility as a pedestrian to make sure the car doesn't hit you.
I
Whether the
make it-
car's right or wrong, it's part. And I don't think any sign, any paint, I don't think anything is going to change that. I think it's just people's crappy driving.
Well, I make a big deal when someone stops, just to thank them. I thank them
Oh,
like 3
yeah.
times, before I cross, while I'm crossing, and after I'm crossing.
There you go.
I send back one of these. But if we can put up a sign, I think that's an easy, at least it's something.
And I will check with Ron and see what we can do. He may, because it's state highway, he may have to talk to ODOT, but
Mhm.
I will check and we can
Another
report
sign.
back.
Yeah, you ought to try it at 5 in the morning. You think they're not watching during the day? Buddy.
They don't expect anybody there walking.
What signs are there now that indicate, or is it just the lines on the road?
Nothing.
Yeah,
There's nothing
just
there.
lines on the
It's
road.
just an intersection, yeah.
I'm not sure that many people would know that you actually have to stop. I mean, I agree you do, but.
Jeez.
It
What
is, I
driver are
believe, in the
you?
driver's manual.
Basic traffic
I
law.
memorized that recently.
And it's the first,
bet
first
you took a
entrance,
test.
it's the first crossing
People would
entrance
know.
into town.
Yeah, that's
That's
the piece
the other
for me.
thing. So we're coming from, I don't have to stop to, I'm hitting downtown, and, usually you see a speed sign, but something like that wouldn't be hurtful, I don't think. We could attach it to one of the other signs that are already there. On that note, and it's probably a question for Jason, but the other Jason, is I've noticed that the yellow curb could use a little brightening up. Is there anything we can do about that, or do we have to wait a long time for that?
Well, that usually happens in summer when the paint has an opportunity to dry before it rains again.
Yeah.
So it is a seasonal
Okay.
thing to do.
Okay, because they're waning quite a bit.
They are, as are in some places, the striping down streets. But again, that's a summer job.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for saying that out loud.
Any other councilor
done.
comments?
Sure, I have one thing. We, at our March 23rd meeting, went ahead and directed the chief to work with Teamsters to devise some sort of hiring sign-on bonus for officer recruitment. I'm just checking in for a status update on that, if I could.
yeah, I think the documentation itself has been written out, and I believe Angela was going to be.
It did go to the union
Okay.
yesterday. We have not heard back from them yet.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to check in and see where it was. Secondly, since I've already started talking, I guess, just thank you to Jason for your leadership here. I feel like this is kind of the last hurrah, the last moment I could publicly acknowledge you and the work that you've done on this group, and just your work in Lebanon throughout the years. I got to know Jason as a teenager when I worked at the Boys and Girls Club. So this man has done a lot for this community, and thank you. You're going to be missed. So.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, we.
Most of you may or may not know, I'm a veteran, and I have been selected to go on the honor flight come the end of this month.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Yes.
I'll keep it short. I had a very unique experience last week with some of our city workers, the sewer guys. Apparently, there was some issues on our street. So they brought the big old, that Succovac machine. And, it's amazing. A lot quieter than it used to be. Turns out that the line coming from Ash Street back over towards Sherman was jammed. And they had that hose down in there, and they were going and going and going, pulling it back out, setting the light down there. Turns out this thing is full of all these allegedly flushable wipe things and that kind of stuff. And I asked him, I said, how often does this happen? He says 3 or 4 times a week we have to go do a clean out. And then they had this other amazing machine that is a manhole cover with an engine on it. and they send smoke in there. And they found out that about 4 or 5 different places that they shouldn't have been, smoke was coming up in people's yards and under their homes and all of that. That having been said, I was just kind of wondering, how hard would it be for us to send out a reminder in bills, water bills or something like that, hey guys, it might say flushable, but oh my God, don't. Because they spent over a period of 3 days, 8 hours trying to clean this whole pipe out so that poop wasn't coming back up into the people's houses, about 4 different houses. And
We
I'm
will see
looking
what
at,
we can do.
yeah, because I'm looking, there's 3 guys and I'm thinking their hourly wage and all that equipment. It's like, man, wouldn't it be easier to send out a note saying, don't flush this stuff?
That is a problem everywhere in the United States right now because the flushable wipes are not flushable.
Not flushable.
Yes, they're not.
I
And
just
then
heard
there's the
about
one
that.
part that people think that are, and they just throw them in
Yes,
anyways.
exactly.
Class
Yeah.
Well, they did find out it had rats in the pipes too, so,
And I will say, we've got a work session on April 27th to talk about kind of the state of the utilities and
right.
rates and you will get some good information about how not new our pipes are.
Oh, I got a class on that one, let me tell you. And there's a whole lot of houses, not that I'm looking at anybody, that are gonna have, their original pipes were not properly capped and now there's smoke going all over.
Yep.
That was a hoot.
Those are all places where infiltration and inflow happens, and we
Yep.
find ourselves treating rainwater at the wastewater treatment plant. So
Yes.
problems.
I just love watching smoke.
Great
come out from under
entertainment.
People's houses.
Must be great to be retired.
I didn't do
Seriously.
it.
There was an email that went out regarding a citizen asking some questions about connecting to the sewer system.
Yes.
And I thought it was very informative. Thank you. Could you share a little bit about that so people who are listening understand some of the things that they can and can't do when it comes to switching from septic to city?
So in this case, the customer had a septic tank with the drain field on a neighboring property, and they had an easement for the drain field, but the neighboring property is being developed. The developer has put a sewer line lateral to this person's property, and they now need to connect. Anytime that a sewer line is within 100 feet, you are required to connect to that instead of a septic system.
Required.
Yeah, in an urban area, septic systems really don't work well. They
Mhm.
don't have enough space for the drain field to work properly. And we recognize it can be expensive to make that connection. In part because they do have to pay things like system development charges to the city to connect to the sewer system. We do give time payment arrangements for that. But you also have to have a plumber make that connection for you, and plumbers can cost money, and depending upon what has to be done to make that connection, some cases it's simply a matter of connecting around the septic tank. Many times you're going to have to pull that septic tank. Sometimes it also requires you to replumb the house because the house may not have been plumbed appropriately, or the plumbing might be quite aged. All of those things can increase the costs. We were asked whether or not the city had a way to help the customer pay those costs that are personal costs, and we don't. We do help customers, I think, more than many communities with the costs associated with replacing their sewer laterals. And we do help them in terms of finding plumbers to do that work personally, and try to assist them considerably in making that happen. But we don't have some kind of a loan bank where people can take out a low interest loan from the city. We're not a bank. We can't really loan our money or our credit to other people. So the best we can do is help them with that SDC piece, with a time payment arrangement on
Do we
that.
have an ordinance that says you must connect?
We do. I'm gonna look at Kelly, but I'm looking, just give me a nod, but I'm pretty sure we do require,
If it's available. you
if
gotta
it's, if it's available, if it's available, and certainly at the point that your septic system fails, you would be required to connect. You cannot, and you can get to a place where we may be required to annex a parcel because their septic system is failed. They have to connect to the sewer, and we don't let people connect to the city's utility who are not inside the city.
I bought a house in Prineville, and in the real estate documentation, it said, the sewer is coming, you will pay. And so I could plan ahead. Are we doing something like that?
I don't believe we do any kind of notice along those lines, no.
In that email, there was a question of the budget that a plumber was charging that family, and I think you addressed that very, very well, so I want to commend you on that. Maybe they need to get another quote, and maybe the plumber was charging them for replumbing the entire house versus replumbing just the part that they need to connect. And I think people need to understand that one plumber and what they can charge today might be different than what they should be charging.
I also will note, services like plumbers are like many things in the supply stream right now. There's a lot of work to be done and a lot of business and a lot of trouble finding people to work for you. And that sometimes means to take on a project, you're going to increase your costs. Frankly, from the city's perspective, we have a lot of concern with things like looking forward to infrastructure money coming. At some point, we believe we'll get information about what we can have, but we will be in competition with every other community, city, county in the state of Oregon who is also getting infrastructure money to replace sewer lines and water lines. And there are only so many construction companies out there that will do this work. And they are going to be busy, busy, busy. So that's a challenge I think we're all expecting to see over the coming 5-year period as those dollars come up.
Well, I just want to say that the way you communicated that to the customer was excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments? Okay. Next up, any comments from the press? Do you have any comments or questions or? Okay. Okay. And also another chance for public comments. Is there anybody that would like to speak?
Question on this septic situation. It's been 24 years since I retired. A lot of people thought I was retired before then. But in the codes at that time, if a septic tank was working, it was kosher. But if it failed, then it was automatically that you had to connect to the jurisdiction. So when did that change?
It didn't.
It didn't.
That's what it is.
In this
So
case,
how come you're enforcing these people to change?
Because their septic tank is on someone else's property.
If they got the easement,
but the new property owner is now
so that null
building
and
on
voids
that.
the easement?
Apparently so.
I guess politics is politics. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Bill.
Anyone else? Yes.
It might be beneficial if I come and do a presentation. I'm sorry, I'm Tina with Habitat for Humanity.
Oh.
We do repair home preservation programs and grants for homeowners, for low to moderate income families, that can help with that kind of stuff, if they qualify. So, and I know the USDA and Dev Northwest also helps with some of those granting programs for families. So I don't know, Nancy, if you can pass that on. Or,
I will do that.
Or whatnot, but, and they're welcome to come see me and I can point them in the right direction, but
Thank you.
that was that.
Yeah, why don't you contact Kim and then you could come to another meeting. We could have you do a little presentation just on the services that are available, so we do know. Okay.
Don't leave town.
They've done that here before.
All right, next scheduled council meetings, April 27th, 12 p.m. Work session. That will be, the next one will be the budget committee meetings, May 4th and 5th if needed, 12 p.m. And I know with Matt's expertise and with your expertise, there will not be a second day.
Hope not.
And May 11th, 6 PM regular session. And at that point, we will adjourn the regular session and move into executive session. We'll take about a 5-minute recess.